Nation. I'm your host, April Healy, and I can't wait to introduce you to my best friend, my husband, and the director of Bethel Atlanta School of Supernatural Ministry, Blake Healy. Hi, Blake, and welcome.
Hello, April.
Hi. So I would love to just get to know you and set the stage. Can you tell us a little bit about who you are, what you love, just your personality? Just give us a snippet of who you are.
Yeah, my name is Blake, and if I'm going kind of broad strokes on things that I love, I've always really loved ministry. Ever since I was a kid, I was a pastor's kid and missionary kid growing up, so I just really loved, introducing people to God and introducing people to the nature of God. And, beyond that, getting into small things, I like the outdoors, I like going camping, I like writing, reading, and all that fun stuff. And so, yeah, those are a few highlights.
Awesome. Okay, tell us a little bit about your family. You have 4 kids. You're married to me.
It's impressive that you know that. I have 4 kids. I have a 7-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old. A boy, girl, boy.
And what are their names?
We have Hayden, Finley, November, and Ender.
Great. So tell us something you absolutely love about each of those kids.
Man. Well, they're all complete individuals, and so there's different things I love about all of them. Hayden is, he's just, he always likes to be doing something. He always likes to be really active, and so, he's always, grabbing the other kids and trying to do something and trying to, make a game, make something fun, and so he's such a enthusiastic, excited, loving guy, and so I just love how the energy that he has. Finley is actually a little bit more similar in personality to me. He's a little bit more quiet, but he's super lovey-dovey and likes loves being around people, but just a little bit more quiet and calm and relaxed. And so I love that about him. And November, she's my perfect little girl, and she's so cute and spunky and excitable. And even though she's got all these brothers, she definitely keeps up with them and just having fun. And Ender, our youngest, he's just a little joy bomb. Like from day one, it's crazy. Like that kid has had a smile on his face more than any other human being I've known already in his life. Like he is just happy, he's having fun, he's excited to see you, he's excited to see the room that he's in. He's just like, I think one of the words he says the most right now is just, wow. When he sees anything, when the TV turns on, when it turns off, when someone walks in the room, he's just excited about everything.
Yeah, I love how you do something funny and he just starts to laugh, and then you look at him and he looks to see if you're still looking, and then he tries to do something else to make you laugh. It's the best.
He's a happy little guy.
Yeah. So you are over the School of Supernatural Ministries.
Yes.
So was that always a dream that you had in your heart? And how did that come about?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's something that wasn't necessarily always at the forefront of my mind. Like I mentioned earlier, I've been part of ministry for most of my life. I was a pastor's kid. I was a missionary kid. And my parents did a really good job of always, involving us in the ministry stuff that they did. And so, and for me, that was mostly a very positive experience. I think one of the negative things that did come up though is, I'd see all these people who would, they would come to our church, they would get filled with the presence of God, their lives would change a little bit, they'd start growing, and then, some issues would come up and they'd kind of just go through these cycles, and then they'd, get a little bit closer and then go through these cycles again. And it just happened really consistently. I would see people just go through cycles. Things would get better, things would not get better. They would make awesome choices, they'd make some poor choices. And just over and over and over. And even, I remember at 15, 16, 17, 18, getting tired of this cycle of seeing the same people dealing with the same problems over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And so it's a bit of a long story, but I ended up going to the School of Ministry when I was 19 years old. And, I even remember feeling a little bit cynical about it then, when I would, I'd go and I'd meet some people, and they were very similar to the kind of folks I had seen in ministries that I had been involved in with my parents. And, I'm like, oh, here we go again, a place where people kind of grow a little bit and then cycle back around. And the thing that was amazing to me though is they would go into this school and I would watch them change and they would stay changed, and then they would
Wow.
grow and change a little bit more, and then a little bit more. And then, over the course of that whole year, my second year, my third year, I watched people actually grow.
Yeah.
And so in seeing that, it really, really inspired me that, oh man, there's something about this. There's something about this environment. There's something about this specific, style that really, that just really releases actual transformation. And so it's interesting because it wasn't necessarily, even at that point, something like, oh, I have to go do this right now. But I remember this one particular day when Danny Silk, he's one of the leaders out there, and we were in second year, and he said, write down 100 dreams, which is a lot. And I remember I got through like 20 or 30, and I was like, I'm out. I had all the big ones. I wanted to get married. I wanted to write books. I knew some of the ones that I wanted, but about 20 or 30 in, I was like, I got to start dreaming smaller, and so there was just a bunch of little random things, and I did 20 or 30 of those. I'd love to climb a mountain someday. I'd love to visit this place. I'd love to visit that place, But after that, I still had, like 20 or so more to write, and I couldn't think of anything. And, as I thought about it then, at that point, after going through that process of running through all the dreams that I had thought of, I thought, man, I really love what this school does. I would love to be the leader of a school of ministry someday. I just wrote that down. It was, number 70 or 80, somewhere in that zone right there.
Yeah.
And it was then that it so rather than it being this big major thing that was right in front of me, it's something that's kind of slowly built over time.
So I remember, that's awesome. So I remember we were, dreaming about that before we moved to Atlanta together. Mm-hmm. And you had said, I want to be over a school ministry. And I said something like, well, we can't move to Georgia then because somebody else is going to be over that school ministry. So, and you said this amazing comment. You were like, not necessarily. And so tell me how you felt like God, tell me the revelation God gave you to move out to Atlanta for the school ministry.
Yeah. So again, it was this kind of thing that was building bit by bit. And I do want to be clear, that was on my list of dreams, and it felt like I mentioned, when I first wrote it down, it was relatively low on my list of dreams. But the more I thought about it, the more it kind of rose to the top, more and more and more. And I didn't see a clear way to go about doing it. I didn't want to just do a cold start. I'm going to go start a school of ministry over here. That wasn't my heart. I didn't have a desire for that. I started, Steve and Lindy Hale, who are the senior leaders here at Bethel Atlanta, they were part of our first year class and our second year class as well. And, as I got to know them, I started hearing about how they had this dream of starting a school in the church out in Atlanta, a direct plant from Bethel. And after receiving all the breakthrough that I did personally and seeing all the breakthrough that happened with people around the school and the church at Bethel and Redding, I immediately, I was so inspired by what I saw there, but my immediate question, as soon as I really started to see how things worked there, was, could this happen somewhere else? Could this be not a carbon copy, not a franchise, but a father to son transfer of principles and DNA, where it would grow into its own thing, but something that carries the same values as the original. And it was not too long after that the process of Bethel Atlanta getting started, began to come together. And so I was one of the early people invited to come join them out there. And it was interesting because, again, I had this idea of wanting to run a school someday, and it had kind of been established that Lauren Brownlee was going to be the person who was running the school here, which was perfect. Again, I didn't even really want to run a school right out of the gate necessarily. Yeah. In fact, I felt in many ways that dream was being fulfilled by me being one of the 10 or 15 or so people that moved from Redding to Atlanta to start the school altogether. To me that was, I guess if I thought about it, I had a feeling that there was still more to that dream. But for that season and for that time, that felt like what that fulfillment of that dream looked like then. Yeah. And so I was very, very happy to be involved in the way that I was.
That's awesome.
At that time.
Well, what is your favorite thing so far So you've been over the school this is your first year, right?
This is my first year being the director of the school. I was a volunteer leader for a long time, and then I was the director of the third year of the School of Ministry for 2 years before I became the director of the whole school.
Okay. And so what's your favorite thing so far about being over the school ministry?
Absolute and total control. No, I'm just kidding. No, for me, it's interesting because I've been at this school for almost 10 years. I've been at a school of ministry of some kind for over 10 years, and so I'm very familiar with how school works. I'm very familiar with how it runs, what's great about it, but I've never been in this particular seat before, and so it's been really exciting looking at, most of what I've been involved in has been a very immediate, what are we doing this year? What are we doing with this students? And I find myself feeling so much trust for for our first year director, second year director, third year director, that I really let them, run their years, follow the vision that God has for them for their year. And so I find myself, assisting, helping, guiding some of the overall vision stuff, but also really looking to the future to see where do we want to go, where do we want to take this over the next few years. And so it's been exciting to really, with my hands on the helm, look at where are we going to go and where are we going to take this.
That's awesome and so exciting. Thank you so much for joining us today. We had so much fun talking to Blake Healy. He's going to join us again in the future. And so please join us again next time. We loved having you with us. Thanks so much.